Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, live in your visuals now as they await the imminent arrival of the President. I'm just looking on my right, Desiree, and I can see his convoy approaching. The President is about to enter the Pinetown Civic Centre, where, as we said, he's going to be given a briefing this morning by the Premier and the officials from the disaster management on the extent of damage here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and thereafter the President is going to go on a site visit. There are 3 areas for now that he's going to be visiting, families of those who lost their loved ones in these floods. He's going to be starting off in Ward 22, then 29 here in the area of Claremont. Thereafter, he will then go to Ntuzuma, and we are told he could also then go to Mlazi. But Desiree, just on that, his itinerary has been changing, and we are told that that is due to the fact that some of the areas where they intended the President to go are not safe, and they have not yet been able to get access to those areas. So live in your visuals now, the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, arriving here at the Civic Centre. The provincial officials, of course, want the province to be declared as a state of disaster, and this, they say, is to enable the province to be able to access emergency funding from the National Treasury, as well as to allow them to reprioritize the province's current budgets in order for them to address the challenges of the ground. Mass damage to infrastructure, as the mayor of eThekwini said, that as a result of the damage to infrastructure, residents just here in eThekwini alone could experience weeks of water cuts, of power cuts, as substations, as water pumps and reservoirs were damaged by this rain. But of course, Desiree, there's other issues now that have arisen from this disaster. Some people are concerned about a government's response. I mean, yesterday we visited one of the informal settlements in Quarry Road in the Durban CBD, and people were saying that after hours, it was the night before, that their homes were washed away, and hours later they still had not had any indication. No local leaders were on the ground to at least give them guidance in terms of what was going to happen, where they were going to spend the night. And we spent a few hours with the residents there. Over 100 people were without homes, or rather there were about 100 homes that had been washed away. And by the time we left, still no clear indication as to what was going to happen to those people there, and the schools in the area were just not enough to house all the people that had been displaced. In fact, looking at that area, many of the people should have been evacuated as early as yesterday morning due to the danger in that area. So those are just some of the issues that have, or the challenges rather, that have arisen after this disaster. Some areas we visited, Desiree, people are saying yes, there was a warning that had been issued by the South African Weather Service, but that was not communicated to communities, and that maybe government also, through the municipality or through the Department of Cooperative Governance, needs to find different ways in which to reach communities, particularly those in lower-lying areas, so that they are able to seek shelter, so that they are able to evacuate on time. As by the time they received the warning, others were saying also the warning just said that there were going to be heavy rains, and the province and the municipality has experienced heavy rains in the past, but they were not told to the extent of the weather conditions, and of course these gale force winds that then followed. That's just what we're picking up on the ground, but a lot of people, Desiree, the desperation on the ground. This, as the mayor of eThekwini was saying, did not just affect only certain areas, but these torrential rains, these heavy gale force winds affected people across the city. Literally, there is no area in the eThekwini metro that has not been affected by the storm, whether it's people's homes that were completely flooded, whether it's homes that have been washed away, whether now it's people without electricity and without water. It's not just residential areas and people's homes, it's also businesses as well have been greatly affected. And the other concern now is what we saw yesterday, scenes of looting down in the Umlazi prospecting area, and where now police, we are told, are deployed to that area to ensure that they monitor what is happening there, because what government has said they do not want to see is scenes that we saw in July, where this type of looting could then possibly spread to other areas. We were also told by the mayor this morning that they woke up to protests in certain areas, and we are told people there protesting over a government's response, that they've had no officials and no teams that have responded to those areas to come and assist. Although it's all hands on deck in terms of what government is saying, but to the communities on the ground, they are now saying that they've been waiting now for hours and there has not been any communication. They have not yet been given any direction in terms of what is going to happen to them. So there are a lot of issues now cropping up, Desiree, that government, on top of this whole disaster that they're trying to manage, they're now having to deal with these situations that now are arising as a result of this disaster. But of course, all of this is going to be communicated to the president. He is going to be given a briefing, a full brief in terms of the needs on the ground for the province, and thereafter he is then going to be taken to inspect for himself and to see for himself some of these areas that have been damaged by these heavy storms. So we are on the ground, as we said, at Desiree. We'll be moving from the Civic Centre to the President's first stop, which will be Claremont, Ward 22. For now, Desiree, it's back to you. Yeah, just keep the visuals. Okay. The network is bad, so I may lose you. The network is bad. Well, Desiree, as you see live in... Yes, Desiree, as you see now live in our pictures, we are in Ward 22 in Claremont, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has come to visit the relatives of the families of people who perished in these floods. Really heartbreaking scenes here, Desiree, as you see women here are crying. What we are told here happened, Desiree, is that just behind us is a church, and this church, we're told, fell during the heavy rains. The church then collapsed on a shack, and inside that shack were 4 children. Members of the family here inconsolable as President Cyril Ramaphosa arrives to meet with them, to pay his condolences following this tragic loss. 4 young children, we are told, died here after this church fell. On their shack. Desiree, we do apologize to our viewers for the moving visuals. Difficult to move around here. There's very little space, and as you can see, a lot of people have come out here to see the president. Just making our way here, the destruction of homes, shacks, washed away. There's a stream in this area nearby, just a feet away from where we are, and many of the homes along that stream have been washed away. So a number of residents, not only the members of this family and neighbors that have come to support this family, have also come out wanting to get an opportunity to speak to the president, an opportunity to share what has happened to them. People here are seeking assistance and relief. There has been no water, no electricity in the area, and people are saying that they desperately need shelter, they desperately need food and clothing. Very heartbreaking scenes here, Desiree. President Cyril Ramaphosa has come to meet family members of those who died in the floods. We are told that the family here says they have lost not only their children, but they have lost absolutely everything that they owned. Neighbors, we're told, those that still did have blankets, extra clothing, have also come in to support, but this entire area has been affected. This is Ward 22 in Claremont, just west of Durban. The Premier, of course, is accompanied by the President, is accompanied by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, the Mayor of eThekwini, Mxolisi Kawunda. Let's just listen in to the Premier.
Hamba ne-leadership njengosengiyitshilo but khona ubaba uKhawunda omeya khona usekela meya ubaba uMavundla nobaba uMadlala nalo we-region ye-ANC. Sibonge futhi umama ukhansela uMadlala olokhe eyithwale kunzima. Sithi mndeni wakwaSokhele sinani. Umongameli uthe akeze uma esizwa lesimo esinzima kangaka, wathi akeze ngokwakhe ukuzoba nathi kulesi simo esisehlele KwaZulu-Natal esibhlungu kanje. Ngizocela ke ukuthi sidedele umongameli abingelele mndenini, adlulise amazwi egameni likahulumeni. Kodwa manje ngimdedela ngisho nje ukuthi azini ukuthi kukho konke sinani, sizozama ukubambisana nani kukhona konke, from umasipala to iminyango ehlukahlukene njengomnyango waka-social development usufikile, neminye iminyango ekhona. Sizokwenza konke okusemandleni ukubambisana nani kulolu okubuhlungu kangako kunivelele. Nazi nathi sinani. Cela ukudedela umongameli ubaba President uRamaphosa.
Ngiyabonga Premier wethu ubaba uZikalala. Nginibingelele nonke abantu bala, njengoba nisenibona ngihamba nezinye inkokheli zikahulumeni, umama uNkosazana uDokotela Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, umeya wethu Baba Kaunda, nabanye abaholi bikahulumeni, bona noMinister uGungubele okupresidency, nabanye abasebenza nobaba uZikalala bakhona la nabo ama-MECs. Ngithe mangizwa lento ehle le abantu base KwaZulu-Natal, ngathi kumama uDlamini Zuma, ngathi ngiyeza ngatshela no Premier wethu Zikalala, ngathi ngizongena endleleni ngize namhlanje ngizozibonela ukuthi abantu bala KwaZulu-Natal bayahlelwe yini na. Ngiphuma emhlanganweni njengamanje nabo baye bangichazela isimo esikhona lapha KwaZulu-Natal. Ngempela ngisibona sisibi kakhulu, nehlelwe ingozi enkulu edlula nezinye ingozi esike sazibona. Ngesinye isikhathi besicabanga nje ukuthi into enehlele la wonke lama district alapha eKwaZulu-Natal, into ezenzeka mhlambe kwamanye amazwe oMozambique oZimbabwe, kodwa nathi sehlele. So baye bangichazela ke ngokubanzi, bangitshela ukuthi endaweni eziningi kumosheke kangakanani nako. Eyona into ebuhlungu kakhulu ukuthi kushone abantu abaningana, izindlu zabo zibhidlekile, itrada, amabroho manje naleli sonto lelabhidlika lamosha nendlu, kwaba nengozi. So sitheke masize nalapha sizozibonela ngokwethu, ukuwenzela ukuthi sibone ukuthi uhulumeni uzokwazi ukuthi ancede kanjani, ancede kuphi na. Eyona into ekhona ukuthi ngiyajabula ukuthi uPremier nalabo asebenza nabo, nomeya wethu nalabo asebenza nabo, sebahlela izinto eziningi, and futhi le ngozi iwela ngaphansi kaKokta, ngaphansi kwamama uDlamini Zuma. Nabo ke sizosebenza nabo bonke, uhulumeni wonke uzobambisana izandla ukuthi sibone ukuthi le ngozi enehlele ukuthi senzani, sisebenza kanjani ukuncedisa abantu kakhulu labo abalahlekelwe izindlu, abantu abanayo nendawo yokuhlala. Sizoya kwenye indawo lapho siyobona abantu laba kufakwe khona eholweni. So yonke leyo misebenzi isayenza uhulumeni, sizayenza yonke indlela ukuthi sibone ukuthi sinceda kanjani. So sithi njengoba uPremier esho, anihambi nodwa kule ndlela, sizawuhamba nani kule ndlela, kule ngozi enivelele. Sizawunceda ngazo zonke indlela esingakwazi ukuthi sincede ngazo. Sithi inhliziyo zenu siyazi ukuthi ngempela zibuhlungu ngale ngozi enehlelela. Nani inhliziyo yami ibuhlungu kakhulu. That's why ngiye ngathi noma ngize ngizozibonela ngokwami, ukwenzela ukuthi sibone ku-national government ukuthi singanceda kanjani na. Uncedo lona luzoba khona. Sithi-ke inhliziyo zenu noma zibuhlungu, sithi-ke sinani ngaso sonke isikhathi, sizohamba le ndlela nani. Sizohamba kwezinye indawo siyobuka ukuthi kumosheke kangakanani na, ukwenzela ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi uncedo oluzoba khona luzoba uncedo olunjani na. So ngibonga kakhulu ukuthi nisinike leli thuba ukuthi sizozibonela, sikwazi ukuhlangana nani futhi sizwe ukuthi kwenzeke njani. Ubaba wayesechazile kancane, sesizwile ukuthi le ngozi enehlele la yenzeke nini na eniyenzeke kanjani. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ukuthi ningamukele nalabo engihamba nabo ukuthi sibe phakathi kwenu. Ngibonge kakhulu.
Siyabonga Mongameli. Masisho emndenini asihambile uma nibona nangu khansela nize nazi ithina ukhansela uMadlala uzolokhe khona. Ukhansela ke usebenza nathi sonke, uzokwazi ukureporta kubaba umeya ngokusheshsha, nathi size sibe khona, sibe nani kukhona konke. Siyazazi idingo njengomongameli ethi sosebenza kukho konke. Siyazi nidinga indawo, nidinga ukudla, nidinga impahla zokumbatha, amanzi nakho konke. Sizobamsana nani kukhona konke. Ngingadedela nje ubaba egameni lomndeni mhlawumbe adlulisa amazwi kumongameli. Baba.
Ngiyanibingelela. Sibonga kakhulukazi kumongameli asukela ekhona ashiya izinto zakhe zonke. Azoba kanye nathi. Sehlelwe isimo esinye, ngicabanga ukuthi akekho obesazi isimo sinje. Kodwa ke sekuyinhlekelela ama-disaster ngoba yonke izwe linje. So ke ukubonga nje okakhulukazi ukuthi manje kuzothola ukuthi sonke ndawonye nomongameli uyathinteka. Nobaba uPremier wethu thinteke. Sizobonga kakhulu ukube sibe nani sesozozwa ukuthi nisuyaphi nogcina nezenja. Kodwa ke sikhona, siyabonga.
Siyabonga. So awusasho ukuthi ukhansela wethu. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ukuthi ube la, ukwazi ukuthi ube phakathi kwabantu bethu. Siyabonga. Ngiyabonga. Ngibonge kakhulu.
Siyabonga Phuzile.
Siyabonga.
Thank you. Shopji. What you? Bathi somntu
Bathi
Amaward.
Yeah, Amaward.
Last one.
Yeah, Bashut.
Okay. Sorry, Thusi. Well, Desiree, that was President of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has just met with family members here in Ward 22 in Claremont. 4 children died in this homestead after the church collapsed on top of their home. The president saying that he has been given a full report by the provincial leaders and that explaining his visit and what necessitated his visit to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, saying that the government is going to ensure that families and all those affected are provided with necessary relief and necessary aid. The Premier also remarked that they are in touch with the local councillors and ward committees, and they will be providing assistance in terms of clothing, food, water. Water tankers will be delivered to this area. A bit of excitement of some people here. Hundreds of neighbors have come out here to get a glimpse or at least see the president, but others are saying, no, President, we want to talk to you. As we said, as we made our way down to this area, many homes here washed away, people in a really desperate situation, so people wanting to also get a chance to speak to the president and talk about the challenges that they are currently faced with. Desiree, the president is now moving to the next location, which is still here in the area of Claremont in Ward 29. So we will then be moving off to try and catch up with him as he makes his way to his next stop. I'm going to take things back to you for now, Desiree, as we try to move from this location and catch up with the president. Desiree?
Ayanda, I know you want to catch up with the president quickly, but I want to ask you this question quickly, just in terms of the optics of this activation, to the president walking with Zandile Kumete to the car, but not mentioning her. Is that as a result of this meeting being a government activation and not an ANC activation?
Yes, indeed, Desiree, this is a visit by government. The president is here in his capacity as the president of the country. And of course, Desiree, the presence of Zandile Kumete would know that she is a member of parliament and she is a member of the cooperative governance committee. Even yesterday, Desiree, Zandile Kumete was out and about in parts of Durban as an MPL conducting oversight visits. As you know, that the members of parliament, of the legislature rather, here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal have also been tasked various areas for them to also go out and assist in the assessment of the damage as government is trying to put together a comprehensive report of what has happened here. I do apologize, it is getting a little bit noisy with these little ones also wanting an opportunity. Of course, they're not at school, Desiree, as you know, with the current conditions in the province, and schools also having been affected. We know that in this province alone and in the majority in the eThekwini Metro, 140 schools have been damaged, and as a result, this then would mean further disruptions to teaching and learning. The department has prioritized high schools, that high school learners are able at least to continue with their school calendar and their classes, but less of the primary schools as well. The other challenge is that, Desiree, some of these schools are now housing people that have been displaced, and so we're now seeing the impact of these floods, these torrential rains, that it is now impacting on even the little ones who have lost their homes and now are not going to be able to go to school. And we don't know at what point, Desiree, these kids will be able to get back to school. Desiree?
Lots of questions, of course, but understandably we have to let you go. Ayanda Mhlongo, thank you so much for updating us there. And of course, SABC News will continue throughout the day to update you on this story, the resultant chaos that has come out of those massive rainfalls of the past few days. Now, the accused in the Nelson Mandela
has been made a destruction, but also to meet with the family members of the victims of these floods. And there the president meeting one of the relatives of 4 children that died in that home after a church collapsed. The church wall collapsed on a shack, killing 4 children at that family home. And President reassuring the family and also community members in that area, Ward 22 in Claremont, that government is on the ground, and in terms of the assistance that they're going to get, saying that they're going to prioritize food, clothing, blankets, but also shelter, as many people have had their homes washed away, their homes flooded, and they are in desperate need of shelter. And so the president saying that is going to be the immediate response from the government. Disaster management teams are moving around the eThekwini Metro and other parts of the province, assessing the damage and the needs of the people in these different areas. We are now at Ntuzuma, which is going to be the president's 4th stop, a busy program for him as he's moving from area to area, of course trying to cover as much ground in this one-day visit here. And we are just outside Begisisa High School, and this high school has now been opened up as a shelter for community members that have been affected in this nearby area. So the president will be meeting with the victims of this flood and people who have been displaced and are now seeking shelter here at this community, at this high school. Just behind us, I'm just going to ask Nompu, my colleague Tolani, right at the school, just to show you some of the damage that we have been speaking about. Homes that have been washed away. Seems to have been a mudslide here, and this is actually on the wall of this school, where people are going to be are seeking shelter here at the school. So this is just a small example of what the scenes that we've seen across the eThekwini Metro from yesterday when we were traveling around different parts of the city, again to what we have seen today. And clearly the president, from his facial expression when he was being shown around, really taken aback by what he has seen. The officials in KZN have said that this is a disaster like they've not seen before. There were floods in 2017, we had floods again in 2019, but these floods have by far been the worst. We are told just here in the eThekwini Metro, in informal settlements, over 4,000 homes have been washed away. And very sadly as well, Nompu, as of last night, the death toll was at 59, but we are continuing to receive reports that more bodies are being found, and so that death toll no doubt is going to increase. We will of course be catching up with the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, the MEC for cooperative governance, who is responsible for coordinating government efforts, to get an update in terms of the latest statistics. The rain is also starting to come down again, and with people already panicking, with people not knowing what they're going to do. This is something, of course, that is adding to the concerns and the fears of community members. As I said, in many areas, people do not know where they're going to go. The community halls not enough to house the people that are now destitute. So the situation, Nompu, I can say, is extremely dire. Not only are people displaced, but we then also have infrastructure damage. Many areas are without electricity. Many areas are without water. We've seen water tankers being delivered to some areas to at least provide water to the affected communities. But certainly a very dire situation here in the eThekwini municipality. The president will be speaking to the media a little bit later. We will then find out, Nompu, in terms of his assessment and what assistance the national government. He is also accompanied by the National Minister of Cooperative Governance, the National Minister of police, as well as the minister in the presidency, Mr. Mondli Gungubela. And so once they have seen for themselves the extent of the damage, the president will be updating the media as well as South Africa in terms of what support and assistance the national government is going to provide to the people of the eThekwini Metro and KwaZulu-Natal. Nompo?
For that report, my colleague there, Ayanda Mhlongo. Well, with the province declared as a disaster area, as Ayanda mentioned, Premier Zikalala has offered immediate assistance to families who've lost their homes.
Then we are embarking as a second step on collecting the information and ensuring emergency interventions in all areas. That include ensuring that all people have accommodation, those whose houses were destroyed. It also includes ensuring that people have food and things to wear, clothes to wear and to sleep. They've got shelters. So through our disaster management team, we have been able to provide such needs to the people. We are now undertaking the assessment of damage to infrastructure, the houses that were destroyed, the roads, as well as ensuring that we take also assessment of schools, bridges, and everything that was destroyed, so that we will be able to respond with speed in trying to rebuild the infrastructure. Of course, we will be working with those families that lost their loved ones to ensure that they are given dignified funerals.
Well, at the same time, the heavy rainfall has also displaced residents in Port St. John's in the affected areas are Mtubane Township, Greens Farm, and the people living in the CBD. Businesses are also affected and most shops were closed yesterday. Mop-up operations have started, but residents fear more rain. Some roads, including the R61 to Mthatha, are affected by mudslides and rockfall. SABC News reporter Lwandile Mbulali is there.
Greetings to everyone watching.
Very good afternoon to you, Nompu. Yes, we are still here at Begisisa High School in Ntuzuma, where we are waiting the arrival of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let me just step out of shot just to show our viewers that some of the MECs have arrived here ahead of the President. The MEC for Agriculture is here, the MEC for Human Settlement is also here, and the MEC for Arts and Culture. They are now standing by waiting for the president's arrival. Of course, the MEC is also telling us that they have been deployed as well to different areas to assess the damage for themselves, to assist the Premier. And, just speaking to them off air, Nompo, they're also telling us the amount of destruction, saying that it's absolutely unbelievable. The MEC for Human Settlement, Jomos Bia, saying to us he just cannot talk at what he has seen here in the eThekwini Metro. And of course, he says while the focus has been so much on the eThekwini Metro, he's been receiving reports of other areas across the province as well, where once they are done with eThekwini and at least left the necessary relief to the people here, they are also going to have to respond to other areas as well. I asked the MEC for Human Settlement whether at this point he knows how many people have been left destitute in terms of housing, and he says that at this point they are not certain, but the number said to be in the thousands. I mean, this is also the RTP houses as well, over 2,000 RTB houses that have been destroyed just here in the eThekwini Metro. And so he says once they have a clear picture of the other areas, they're still collating information. They still have their officials from the various departments as well are also out trying to gather and assess the extent of the damage as to be compiled into one report that is going to further be handed over to to the president. We had said earlier on here, Nompo, the purpose of the president's visit at this school is because this school has now been opened as a shelter for residents living in this area that have now been displaced. But I just moved into where they are, Nompo, a short while ago, and I get the sense of anger. People here are upset, they are quite angry, and so it seems that once the president arrives, he's going to be met with a group of people or crowds that are not happy. And the reason being, Nompo, they're saying that in 2017, again, they were affected by heavy rains and floods. Many people back then lost their homes, saying again in 2019, during the April floods, they were once again affected. They said government officials came through, visited this area, and it promised that they were going to provide assistance for those people that have been displaced, assistance with building material. And they're telling us that that has not happened. And so this time around, they're considering the extent of this damage. They are very or less hopeful that the government is going to be able to assist them. They're saying that their promises before, government has not fulfilled its promises, and this time they're really, really not hopeful that they're going to get any assistance from their government here. But we have seen also the Red Cross has also arrived with food parcels which are going to be distributed to these families that are here at the school where they're seeking shelter here. But, you know, this is just a small group, a small number of people from this area. Apparently, they've also taken over other schools as well. Many of the schools in this area have been opened up now as shelters for people that have been displaced. So more and more people, Nompo, MECs are telling us they themselves have been receiving more reports of people being displaced. We also then reported earlier on, Nompo, that the death toll is expected to rise. As we have been here, we've been told that another 5 people have been found in the area of Inanda. This is just information, of course, that we're getting from contacts and our sources on the ground there, which has not yet been verified. But the Premier and the Mayor of eThekwini, who we spoke to earlier on this morning, did indicate to us that the death toll is going to rise as the rescue teams are still out. Recovery operations are continuing. So we are now awaiting Nompo, the president, and we are told that he'll be arrive here any minute now.
Ihlale phansi. Ayibamba umthetho ihlale phansi noma nimile nje. Siyajabula ukuba lapha phakathi kwenu noma into esiletha la ingajabulisi nakancane. Ngoba isimo sibi kakhulu, wonke umuntu uyazibonela naye. Manje ngihamba no premier wethu, udunankulu wethu la, nabuma minister wethu bakhona lapha, nomama uDlamini Zuma wayekhona ilanga lonke ehamba nathi. Nama MEC asebenzisana noNdunankulu no Mayor wethu nangu omnyama ufana nami. So sithema sifike la sizobona ukuthi into ehlele iKZN injani na. Ngivele ngathi nami mangisuke le eGauteng ngize la ngizozibonela. Sifike ekseni siloku sihamba endaweni eziningi sibuka yonke lo monakalo oyenziwe imvula. Sibe nemvula enkulu kakhulu edlula imvula esike sayibona eminyakeni edlulile. So siloku sihamba ke sibona abantu abalahlekelwe imndeni yabo. Siphuma kwenye indawo manje sibone umndeni osele la kushone abantu abayi-10 ngesikhathi esodwa. Indlu yabo ivele yabhidlika ebusuku base bathathwa amanzi nomfula boyi-10 babo sekutholakale abayi-4 kusasele abayi-6. So sinala lobo bunzima bokuthi labo abathathwe amanzi bathathwe umfula fanele ukuthi batholwe. Obunye ubunzima la uhulumeni abhekene nabo lapho sizonceda abantu bakithi ngabo ukuthi bathola indawo yokulala. Labo abalahlekelwe izindlu sesizwile ukuthi lapha kunamhlamba abantu abawu-60 abasebekwe lapha esikolweni isikhashana nje. Abantu bafanele ukuthi bathole ukudla, bathole izingubo, bathole futhi namanzi. So yonke leyo nto ifanele ukuthi ilungiswe, kodwa uhulumeni we-metro yethu nohulumeni we-province yethu and futhi ku-national government sithe sizawunceda ngayo yonke indlela, ngoba lento esehlele lapha kufanele ukuthi uhulumeni afake isandla sithole indlela yokuyilungisa. Nalabo abashonile bafanele ukuthi ke sibone ukuthi bayobekwa kanjani and bayobekwa kuphi. So yonke lento izawubhekwa uhulumeni and sishilo ukuthi sizawunceda bonke abantu abawelwe yile ngozi ngayo yonke indlela. Futhi sibonga ukuthi amakhansela wethu bakhona kuleyo ndawo lapho kumoshake khona bayasinceda. Naye umama ukhona ngithola ngisibongo, umama uMhlongo ukhansela wethu wakule ndawo. So zonke izandla zethu from national to provincial ku-metro nakumakhansela bona self bayayingena le ndaba, and at national level i-interministerial committee yethu ye-disaster iyahlangana. Upremier wethu izolo ebusuku ube ne-executive council yakhe bahlangana babhekisana ukuthi lesimo sisenza kanjani na. So ekunye sengikhulume no-minister we-finance ngithe kuye kuzawufuneka imali ukuthi ibe khona, ngoba le disaster esibhekane nayo la inkulu ukudlula ezinye disaster esike sazibona kule province futhi I think ku-South Africa. Kusazoyenza onke amalungiselelo ukuthi si-declare i-provincial disaster. So yonke lezo gazethi zizawulungiswa. I-KZN is going to be declared as a provincial area of disaster so that kungene imithetho ezasivumela so that we are able to do things quickly. The bridges have collapsed, the roads have collapsed, people have died, people are injured. So this is a catastrophe of enormous proportions. And it is for this reason that we have said, one, I should come down, and the ministers are here, and the various ministers who I've also appointed as champions of the district development model will also be working here. And this disaster obviously is part of climate change. It is telling us that climate change is serious. It is here. We no longer can postpone what we need to do, the measures we need to take to deal with climate change. It is here, and our disaster management capability needs to be at a higher level. And so therefore that we are going to process as we go on, but right now we are dealing with the immediate situation of ensuring that those who have lost their loved ones are comforted, they are accommodated, and they are well cared for, and that we should also be able to help them bury their loved ones, but also to find their loved ones, because some of their loved ones were washed away by the water through the river system, and so search is still going on. And obviously we would like to thank our police, our rescue personnel, our disaster personnel here in the province. The Premier and the Mayor gave me a detailed briefing this morning, and I must commend them because they proved to me that they are getting on top of the situation. They are fully aware of the damage that has been caused, although we still need to do proper assessment of what the actual damage is, and we are going to lay out professionals, engineers, to look at exactly what the extent of the damage is, and we will also look at the cost that it is going to take. But I have said we are going to spare nothing. We are going to make sure that we do everything that is required to deal with this disaster. And the economic part of it is another issue that we have to address. The road that takes almost 1,300 trucks a day to the harbor has also been damaged, so we've got to find alternative roads as we embark on the process of repairing that. So we are dealing with a calamity of enormous proportions here, but our government is getting into gear. The Defense Force is also going to be here. We're going to roll out as much support and assistance to our people as we possibly can. And this calls for working together as a government, all departments. And the wonderful thing is that our other provinces have already pledged support and assistance. Various of our provinces want to send assistance of various sorts, personnel, experts, foodstuffs, and all that. So this shows once again that there is solidarity, and we are working as a team, all of us as South Africans and also as people of this province. So while this is a disaster, we must hold hands together as South Africans, as people of KZN, and work together, and as various structures of our government. So that is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to treat this disaster with the level of seriousness that it requires. So ngiyabonga ukuthi nila nonke ukuthi nuzwe kahle umlayezo wakahulumeni ukuthi sizawunceda abantu labo abayehlelwe yile ngozi ngendlela zonke sizokwazi ukuthi sikwazi ukusebenza ngazo. So ngibonge kakhulu sizohamba manje siyobona abanye silokhu sihamba yonke indawo. Ngiyazi ke ukuthi ngesimo esinje kunembuzo eminingi, isikhathi sokuthi siphendule imibuzo yabantu abaningi asinaso okwamanje, kodwa okhansela bethu bakhona. And okunye, the other important thing is that our mayor and the councillors, including the various including the various MECs, are being deployed throughout the province. 10 of our districts have been affected, so they are going to be out there dealing with the problems, and we beg for your patience, your understanding, because our people are being pulled in all directions, but we are going to deal with this disaster. That is partly why I came down to see for myself and to know exactly what resources we need to release to deal with this. So ngiyabonga kakhulu, sisayobona abanye kweminye imindeni abayehlelwe yile ngozi, and thank you very much to everyone for being here. Siyabonga.
Mr. President.
Mike.
What is the official death toll, Mr.
SABC.
President? How many people have died?
Well, it's still being worked on. Initially we had some 50-something, but it's feared that it could be well over 100 people who have died, but the numbers are still being added up. By the end of the day, we should know. Thank you.
All right, that was President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, just speaking to the residents of Ntuzuma. Many of those here have been displaced by these floods. Let me just quickly let me now quickly just speak. Let me see. We are live. Let's just quickly speak to you. All right. MEC, just speak to us. You've been moving with, this is the MEC for Finance in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Mam Nomusa Dube-Ncube. MEC, thank you very much for your time. I know that you have been traveling throughout the day with the President. Just your observations in terms of what you have seen throughout the day.
Well, we are devastated. Our people are really in a very sad state, and it's very sad. I must say, we need to get to all our people as soon as possible. We need to give help. We need to lend a helping hand. We need to give counseling to families, to kids. I mean, our people have seen a lot in the past 2 days, 3 days. So we need all the hands on the deck, really, to ensure that we bring hope and we bring comfort to our communities.
MEC, in terms, and I know the President was not able at this point to sort of estimate the damage, but you have been sitting, you're part of the committee where the assessment of the damage, or at least some of the information that has been coming through. Can you give us an idea at this point?
Unfortunately, we're not able to, because the assessment is ongoing as we talk. As we go, we're still making assessment. We also have teams on the ground, technical teams, engineers, who are still making proper assessment, because for us to be able to tell National Treasury, as you heard the President, we need to know at least what are we looking at in terms of numbers. And the Premier has called the Cabinet again this afternoon, where we are going to be tabling that report.
In terms of the number of people that have passed away, the President mentioned another 10 now, but we know that that number has been increasing. Where do we stand at this point?
Yeah, the numbers keeps on going up, unfortunately, and yeah, they are more than 100, and yeah, they're quite big numbers now. They're past 100 mark.
All right, MEC for Finance in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Let me let her go there. That is Nomusa Dube-Ncube. Of course, she is one of the MECs that has been traveling with the Premier and the President as they have been assessing the damage. Let's just move a little bit to this side. Unati, the President is still here. Let's try to move. He is still talking to some of the community members that are here. Let's try and see if we can Let's try and see if we can move in to hear what is being said.
amalungiselelo ukuthi ukudla nayo yonke leyo nto, kodwa-ke ukuhlala nje isikhashana la uma sisalungisa ukuthi kahle kahle labo bantu bazoyiswaphi okwamanje ngoba izindlu zabo zibhidlikile. And kunjalo nakwezinye indawo la sihambe khona siloku sithi no bani nihlezi la kancane silungise, kodwa okhansela bethu umama uMhlongo nomeya wethu uGahunda nabanye ama-MEC wethu bazawufika ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi balekelele yonke into kahle. So sithi no siyazi ukuthi nokubuhlungu yini, kubuhlungu impela nakithi kubuhlungu. Sizwe ezinye izitori ezithusayo zabantu abayi-10 umndeni wonke 10 bavele bashona, kodwa hayi ukuthi ezenu they are not so important, nani nizwe ubuhlungu ngalento enehlekele. So sizawuzama ngayo yonke indlela njengoba eshilo premier ukuthi silungise izinto.
Ingane umntwana ufunda la esalulekile yakwayi-1 usesibhedlela kwemanje asazi ukuthi unjani kodwa kuyembeswa asinalutho ukuthi sihambe umshwanana asikwazi nokuthi singenza noma yini nalabo abashonile abawu-3 ugogo uyena beyi-breadwinner obonda zonke lezi ngane and kukhona indodakazi yakhe enye ibisekholeji asazi kuma ibukile asazi kamanje ukuthi ubani ozothatha i-responsibility yale yakhe ngoba masithi siyabuka angisho ukuthi ngithini ukuthi kuze phuma imphefumulo emngaka esinjenganawe wena uyi-president ungathi yini cause ngoba phela lento le okay uma ngithi ngiyabuka the boundary wall angisho ukuthi ngithini but uma ngibuka angisho if i-safety ngoba iphumile imphefumulo yasekhaya and then thina sinalutho asazi sokwenza njani. Mina I'm the grandfather of them, I'm the grandfather of them. Kumanje bahlele ubani.
Yeah, into engicabanga ukuthi kudinga siyenze okokuqala ukuthi senze i-team yethu
Other provinces, disasters are a common thing.
in South Africa.
So right. Now just
we need to direct all the resources that we have in trying to help out those provinces and people who are in need. So basically, in a sense, they're saying at least there is hope and comfort in that some provinces have agreed to release their resources to try and assist KwaZulu-Natal. Remember, the South African government doesn't have enough money and capacity to solve all the challenges. While they are busy dealing with socio-economic challenges, now we have a natural disaster hitting the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Just stand on the pictures.
To recover from the 2021 July unrest, they are still trying to rebuild the economy.
Okay.
And the number of people who have died, if I'm not mistaken, more than 300 people died in this unrest. So on top of that, we have this disaster now with more than 100 people who passed away following this disaster. And of course, the number could be higher than that once all the information and statistics have been tallied, and then they will be confirmed officially and formally by the relevant authorities. But President Ramaphosa, they are not painting a good picture, saying the world things are not looking good on the ground. And the reason is taking a very long time to confirm all the statistics and that police and health authorities and do all they can to process each and everybody, go through the postmortem, certify their death, and once that subject is certified by the police and relevant authorities, then it will be reported, it will be recorded,
Sorry, sir.
you can see days.
Well, yes, Unati, the president there just speaking to some of the residents and those that have been affected by these floods that had requested to personally speak to the president. Is now getting into the vehicle as they now leave Ntuzuma. This was the president's last stop of the day. Residents who were given an opportunity to speak to the president, and he immediately then called on the mayor of eThekwini to assist them, saying that they did not know what was going to happen to them tonight, that the school that they have been told, and it's this school where we are at, although they've been told that the school has been open and will be used as a temporary shelter, however, nothing else has been supplied for these displaced residents. There are no blankets, absolutely nothing that has been brought. The only aid that residents here received this morning, or when we arrived, in fact, around lunchtime, was food that had been brought by the Red Cross and other organizations. But in terms of where they're going to sleep, mattresses, beds, rather blankets, none of that has been provided. Also, some of them telling the president that the situation has been so chaotic with relatives that are still missing, others that are in hospitals who they have not been able to locate, and requesting their assistance from the government so that they are able to locate those their missing loved ones and their missing relatives. The president has assured people here that government is going to do everything in its power to assist. Of course, he described this as a calamity, and saying that all government's efforts are going to be put into bringing or the situation back to normality. It is going to take some time due to the massive destruction. He spoke about the infrastructure damage. He spoke about the damage to people's property. He spoke about the loss of lives. In fact, before coming here, the president saying that he visited an area where 10 members of one family have died. Let me just quickly, Unata, see some of the residents here gathering behind us. So let me just speak to some of them and just get their inputs. I know some of them were not happy and saying that they've been promised time and again that they will be moved from this area, that they will be provided with decent housing. But let you speak to one of the residents here. Mama kunenjani? Sikhona ma. Ufikile umongameli ezokhuluma nani kodwa ngibonile ngazuthi abanye benu beningajabulile anitholanga ithuba lokuthi nikhulumisane naye. Mhlambe yini benifuna ukuyidlulisa kuyena?
Mina bengifuna ukuyidlulisa nje ukuthi sesinesikhathi sikhona sihleli la ngaphansi kwebhekisisa esifikela lawa amanzi izindlu zibhidlika si reporter lento ngikhumbula nje sekuneminyaka eminingi impela esidlulile kuthiwa kuzojikiswa mhlamba amapayipi ashoniswe ngala kodwa ke akwenzeki sekuze kwafika la sekuze ukuthi sekukhona esebenzi badlula ke manje emhlabeni ke and lapha mina ngiyumamgoba lapha ngezansi kwakuona lo muzi okuhambe khona kusuke umdaka la lwashona phansi emzini wami lwadlula nawo lo muzi osudlule nezidumbu konke bababisha lapho ufika nomhlabathi wazothi ji emva kwendlu yakwami namanje na ke nje kunjalo ufikile ukanti izolo wathi chukuchuku kancane wahamba kusathe ji namanje so ikhalo zethu ukuthi siyacela bandlu kunakekeleka ngoba kade kwakwenzeka kodwa usizo asilitholi.
All right, let me just bring in somebody else. Siswena ukhalangana.
From 2017 iqala lento mina sengihlale 25 years kule ndawo 2017 kube kwaba nekhukhula kanje kwalimala imizi kwawimizi 2019 kuphindile manje kufa abantu and ayikho into eyenziwayo uhulumeni njengoba uRamaphosa ephuma lana uzothini uzosi-addressa uthi sokhuluma nekhansela mesifika ikhansela lisithatha kahle sikhulume nalo inkinga lizosiza ngani uhulumeni ophezulu engayikhiphi izabelo imali lento ngabe kade yanqandwa akhishwa izabelo imali zendawo ngeke ukhansela umamkhansela athatha imali yakhe asiza umphakathi ngemali yakhe uhulumeni ufikile lalo baba lo uRamaphosa afana ngabe ungena door to door abone umonakalo wonakele akakwenzi lokho akayifili lento ubuhlungu esibuzwayo sibona omakhelwane bethu befa phambi kwethu beqitshwa izindlu ngento ekade ngabe kade bayinqanda lento iminyaka mingaki kuyabika siyahamba siyobika uyibona into kuyonakala kuyawa kwenzeka ukuthi singomama indawo le yesihlala kuyona inabantu besifazane kakhulu asinamadoda sawangcwa bashona siyapatanisa angisebenzi ngiyalima ngitshale ngidayise kodwa ngokuzama lokho sikuzamayo uhulumeni akasilekeleli uhulumeni usasife ukwazi ukuzala ngoba nakho sekuphuma idumbu kodwa akakwazi ukunqanda umonakalo before wenzeke ngoba fanele ngabe kwakhiwe kwalungiselwa abantu abakuyicrisis abangenamizi abaxakeke ngempela nathi sizamelayo sizakhela imizi siyalinyalelwa asizwa ngalutho siba siyizamela ngoba ngabe basiza basifakele noma retaining wall ukuze kungonakali ngoba kubhidlika indlu yalapha izobhidliza indlu yakho yini ozoyenza ungasebenzi.
Ngiyabona nesimo sezulu ukuthi sithanda ukungabi sihle mhlawumbe nakho ukusabela ukuthi
kumanje amanzi agcwele indlu umuzi wakamakhelwane uwile uwele kumina ekwami ayikho into engizoyisho kumanje amanzi ayamfoma agcwele indlu ngizolala kanjani ngiyasaba lamanzi amfoma odongweni ukuthi mhlawumbe indlu yami izowa nami ngife nengane endlini.
Let's see if anyone else would like to speak to us. Sisi?
Yabo nje masihleli la esikoleni the president was here. Akazange ezevele ngisho ukubona ukuthi who are these people abahlela esikoleni. Ngu next door neighbor labantu abashonela. Bashone phambi kwethu nathi sithi siyabaleka. Sehla nezingane. I also have a 2-year-old nami ngabe underground. Council lethu nje angifuni ngisho ukukhuluma yale ndaba. It's been 3 years simreportela the same thing. Uma la phezulu engehli eyobuka what we talking about. You can't stand la emgwaqweni umuzi obheka abantu ungena endlini ubuka ukuthi what are they talking about. And then mase kufanele kuvote kodwa bayaphuma bekhankasa. Be request ukuthi sibavotele how if they're not helping us. Yabona ngoba iqala imvula. My mom's house is going to fall anytime and we've worked so hard. Asifuni imxhasaba si request imxhasaba besizamela to have a home of our own. Engakhiwanga ibona ngamandla. Right now it's going to fall, they're not even helping. Izolo bathembisa ama blankets la. Aze beze beqhamuka abantu bayilalele la. Kungekho lutho.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Well, Onati, clearly these residents are not happy with this situation. Ladies, just to sum up what they were saying, that they have for years been calling on the authorities to come and assist, saying that the area is not safe where their houses are, and that they've wanted government assistance, at least structural engineers, to come through and just to look at this area to try and ensure that these residents are safe. 2017, they said they were victims of floods, again in 2019, and now they're saying that, of course, that these floods have been the worst. These three ladies that we were speaking to are the neighbors of the family that died. 4 family members died, and other houses close to theirs also washed away and damaged by the floods. Again, also talking about the fact that although those that have been displaced have been placed at the school, however, they have not been provided with any mattresses, with any blankets, and saying that they were unhappy that the president did not give them enough time, that they felt that the president should have gone down to their homes at least, just to see what they were talking about, that he should have gone into the classrooms where they've been sleeping to see the conditions there, and basically saying that they have given up in terms of they've asked government for assistance and they've had no response from the government. Clearly very, very upset with the situation. And as I was saying, that the rain keeps coming down and stopping, and they're saying that in itself is of great concern. But the president, and one of the points that he mentioned, was asking people to please bear with the government. The extent of the damage is too great for the government to be able to respond as quickly as they would have liked to in each of the areas. He mentioned that although eThekwini is the hardest hit, but there are 10 districts in the province of KwaZulu-Natal that have been affected by these torrential rains, and as a result, after his assessment, they have now declared KwaZulu-Natal as a disaster area. President mentioning there that he's spoken to the Minister of Finance so that additional funds are then released to aid the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Other provinces as well, we are told, have also put up their hands to say that they are going to also assist and providing aid and other necessities to the people of KwaZulu-Natal. So all hands on deck from what the president is saying. Disaster management teams, of course, are still out across the affected areas assessing the damage. Not yet a full report. I mean, this was also reiterated by the MEC of Finance, who we spoke to earlier, to say they don't yet have a complete report. And this is due to the fact that they have not been able to access certain areas. And once they get to those areas, they are then going to be able to have a complete picture of what the full extent of the damage is, and also what this is going to cost the government, what this is going to cost the residents of eThekwini and the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Unati? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Uyabaleka nukhawunti.